Did you know that Sega made a wind-up toy knight that wielded a key as a blade years before Kingdom Hearts was even a concept? And did you know that game actually kicked off the Sega Saturn's launch lineup in the West? No? Well, buckle up, because we're going back to a game that deserves way more love than it ever got, Clockwork Knight. This game is pure retro nostalgia. It's the kind of game you remember out of the blue one day and can't decide if it was real or a fever dream. A weird, wonderful little platformer that dropped at a strange moment in gaming history, and somehow got lost in the shuffle. But for those of us who were there, it was unforgettable. Let's rewind to 1995. The internet sounded like a fax machine having a panic attack. Your biggest problem in life was returning your $5 rental movie on time, and Sega was desperately trying to outdo Nintendo and fight off newcomer Sony's new PlayStation. Enter the Sega Saturn.
Buy Sega Saturn now, and while supplies last, we'll give you 3 top-selling arcade games free. That's Virtua Cop, Daytona USA, and Virtua Fighter 2. $189 values free.
It was a powerful console. It was a weird console, and it was an expensive console. And it got absolutely wrecked by Sony in all territories outside of Japan. But if you had one, you felt like some part of a secret society, like you had access to a cooler, more exclusive club of games. And one of those games, right at launch, was Clockwork Knight. A game where you play as a wind-up toy knight named Sir Pepper. It's not a joke, that's actually his name. He's got a wind-up key in his back, a mustache that means business, and a mission to rescue the princess of the Toy Kingdom from a haunted dollhouse full of demon toys. It's a story about toys that released a whole 6 months before Toy Story. In Clockwork Knight, Chelsea, the magical clockwork fairy princess, awakens all the toys each night at the stroke of midnight. Our hero, Sir Pepper, is a wind-up toy knight hopelessly in love with Chelsea. He's brave, determined, and hilariously clumsy compared to his snarky, more agile rival, Sir Ginger. But one faithful night, disaster strikes. A mysterious force kidnaps Chelsea and corrupts several of the other toys, turning them into enemies. Without Chelsea, the toys will never awaken again, so Sir Pepper and Sir Ginger team up and spring into action to save her. The game unfolds across 4 themed rooms, each containing 3 levels and a boss fight, giving the whole adventure a playful toys-come-to-life vibe. It's colorful, whimsical, and packed with personality. But it's also surprisingly short. A typical playthrough clocks in at around 2 hours, making it a bite-sized blast of 90s Sega charm. It was more than just another quirky game from Sega that got lost in the annals of time during the brutal 90s console wars. Clockwork Knight wasn't just a footnote. It was a statement piece, a weird, wonderful little gem that wore its heart on its sleeve. This was Sega doing what Sega did best, taking risks, getting weird, and delivering something that nobody else would dare to make. It wasn't trying to be the next Mario. It wasn't trying to outgun Sonic. It was its own thing entirely. A living, breathing toy box brought to life, with chunky pre-rendered graphics, oversized furniture, and levels that felt like you stepped right into a Saturday morning cartoon. Clockwork Knight is a 2.5D side-scrolling platformer, and while that might sound pretty standard on paper, the way this game is executed was anything but. At its core, yeah, you're moving from left to right, bashing enemies with your key, jumping across platforms, and interacting with the world around you. But it's the little details that elevate it. The world is built to make you feel small. Built to feel like a giant toy box with secrets hiding around every toy block. That key isn't just your weapon, it's everything. It's your sword, your crank, your skeleton key, and your problem solver all in one. The game might be mechanically simple, but there's a real satisfaction in how it feels, jamming your key into the gears, cranking open secret doors, or winding up a spinning attack that turns you into a little clockwork buzzsaw. Clockwork Knight was developed by Sega's in-house team, Sega AM7, which was also responsible for some heavy hitters like Streets of Rage and Shining Force. Leading the charge was Toshiyuki Hirauchi, who served as the game's director. His goal? Create a platformer that would showcase the power of this brand new Sega Saturn console, while still retaining the accessible toy-like charm Sega was always known for. The level design leans right into "you're a tiny toy in a big world" aesthetic. And that's where the game really shines. Every stage is packed with creative environmental details that feel like you were ripped straight from a stop-motion animation set. One minute you're crossing a desk littered with thumbtacks and open books. The next you're platforming across kitchen counters, dodging falling utensils or jumping your way to a moving train. It's Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, but you're a gear-powered knight in shining armor, clanking your way through a house-sized obstacle course on a mission to save your princess. A literal toy hero fighting off rogue wind-up monstrosities and possessed playthings in a quest that feels equal parts fairy tale and fever dream. And then there are the bosses. And oh man, Sega went full Saturday morning cartoon with these guys. Every boss is this wonderfully absurd mechanical monstrosity that feels like it belongs in a toy store shelf. Just the first couple of bosses have you go from facing down a creepy baby doll in a top hat to fighting a shape-shifting robot that feels like it's straight out of the Transformers series. Each boss feels memorable because it leans into its weirdness. The designs weren't afraid to get silly, to get creative, and to just have fun with the premise. Clockwork Knight isn't trying to be the next Sonic or Mario. It's not about blistering speed or pixel-perfect precision. It's about simplistic charm and a creative little world that feels like a trip through a child's imagination. And honestly, that's what makes it feel timeless. This game is peak mid-90s Sega. The graphics mix pre-rendered backgrounds with 3D character models in a way that actually holds up shockingly well. Everything looks like a handmade diorama. It feels like a graphical evolution of what Donkey Kong Country did the year prior on the SNES. The developers actually used pre-rendered 3D sprites to give the characters their detailed, almost plastic look. This technique was cutting edge at the time, and gave Clockwork Knight a unique visual identity compared to other early Sega titles, which were still trying to find their footing in 3D. The animations are smooth, the environments are detailed, and there's this cozy toy-like aesthetic that makes you feel like everything is magical. And the music? Absolute vibes. The soundtrack is this jazzy, whimsical mix of swing beats and toy box tunes. It feels like it should be playing in a 1930s cartoon bar full of dancing toys. So, what happened? Well, the short version, the Saturn bombed in the West. Between its high price, rushed launch, and poor third-party support, the system couldn't compete with the competition. PlayStation was killing it, the N64 was looming overhead, and Sega's weird little toy knight got left behind. We did get a sequel that improved on everything the first did, and there were rumors of a third game, but nothing came of it. No remakes, no reboots, no ports. Not even a cameo in Sonic and All-Star Racing. He just vanished. And that's a shame, because Clockwork Knight had something special going on. I remember my brother got this game for our Sega Saturn when we were growing up. I watched him play the game from start to finish in one sitting. When he was done, I jumped in myself and had an absolute blast. There was something about it that felt cozy, like I'd stepped into a toy world nobody else knew about. It wasn't just another platformer either, it captured my young imagination. And that's the thing about retro games like this. They're not always perfect, they don't always hold up the way you remember. But when a game is tied to your childhood, it sticks with you. The memories, the vibes, the feelings it gave you, that's what carves out a special place in your heart. So yeah, Clockwork Knight might be forgotten by Sega, but not by me, and hopefully not by you. Despite its brevity, Clockwork Knight became a bit of a cult favorite, especially among Sega fans, thanks to its charm, tight controls, and polished presentation. It might not have revolutionized platforming, but it's a fascinating time capsule from Sega's early push into 32-bit gaming. If you've got memories of the Sega Saturn, or any other weird retro games that meant the world to you, drop a comment below. Let's bring those old heroes out of the toy box and back into the spotlight for a little bit. And hey, this is the part where I say thanks for sticking around to the end. I really appreciate you watching, and if you enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, consider leaving a like and subscribing for more content like this. As always, until next time,